Coming up next on Making Moves, local developers hear from experts on why building around transit is vital to our area's growth.
I'm Karen Adams in St. Augustine, where city leaders here are closely watching JTA's U2C program. We'll tell you why coming up.
I'm David Cotton in Neptune Beach. Coming up on Making Moves, we've got all the details on the new paid parking strategy here at the Beaches Town Center.
And some local veterans are looking good after an assist from JTA. I'm Bill Milnes. These stories and more right now on Making Moves. Hello and welcome to Making Moves. I'm Bill Milnes in for Donna Deegan. On today's show, Karen Adams tells us how JTA has inspired St. Augustine to consider new technology in shuttling people around its downtown, how the JTA Cares program is helping local vets, and 2 beaches communities have chosen a pay-to-park option. We'll tell you how JTA can help you avoid those fees. But we begin in La Villa, where JTA continued to push its transit-oriented development plan to local builders and developers. Transit-oriented development, or TOD, includes a mix of commercial, residential, office, and entertainment, centered around or located near a transit station. Dense, walkable mixed-use development near transit attracts people and adds to vibrant, connected communities. Following up on its TOD symposium back in May as part of the agency's annual State of the Authority, JTA recently hosted a transit-oriented development workshop for builders and developers in an effort to showcase what is possible on the many parcels it owns throughout the city. The workshop kicked off with an in-depth panel discussion featuring TOD experts from San Diego and Atlanta, as well as the new CEO of Jacksonville's Downtown Investment Authority. Howard Blackson, an urban planner from AVRP Skyport Studios in San Diego, and who drew the original concept design for the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at La Villa, told the crowd that ultimately TOD is about the transit authority creating opportunities for better mobility and economic development, namely access to jobs.
I believe that the key to transit-oriented development is actually jobs. That's the key to urbanism. And then by creating the investment that the transit authority here has done with the building and the infrastructure, then create a predictable path of least resistance for the development industry.
Lori Boyer, the new CEO of the Downtown Investment Authority, says the city has been too focused on transitioning more than 52,000 people that work in downtown into permanent downtown residents. Right now, there are only about 5,000 people living in the downtown area, and that's about half of the commonly regarded number to sustain activity and growth.
So there's a great opportunity for the housing market downtown. But the housing market downtown, I think the next step in that journey, there are 2 pieces to it. Number 1 is the transit piece and the connectivity and mobility piece. And the other one is our public infrastructure side, which includes everything from expanding sidewalks and creating more shade to urban parks that will serve those residents. So there's that piece, and creating that vibrant restaurant scene that we're looking for that will keep people downtown. So we're working on that. At the same time, JTA is actively working on how all of those mobility connections are made downtown.
But Rod Mullis, the managing partner of Atlanta developer Windsor Stevens, thinks Jacksonville's downtown population makes it ripe for a development explosion around transit.
Jacksonville is uniquely positioned to have some great development around your transit hubs because you only have 5,000 residents, right? And so our belief is that if we can build the same quality product next to a job center, we're going to win because we're going to save people time.
What would you say the benefits are of being close proximity to transit for residents or businesses or other developments?
Being close to transit makes commerce more predictable. Living close to transit, living close to your job makes your life easier, less stressful.
Flexibility, because you need flexibility in development to be able to figure out what the market's going to be able to do. But then he also says predictability. You as JTA and the city planners and the people that are trying to attract him and the development and developers, you need to decide what's going to be flexible and what's going to be predictable. Will the outcomes be predictable, such as the form of the buildings? Will the process be predictable? Will the fees be predictable? Or will it be all flexible? But what do you choose? And you need to work with your community and you work with the areas that say, we want this to be predictable so we can make this flexible.
And that's where the leadership of the business community, the economic development,
That's right.
and JTA in the planning. If you can give us the maximum flexibility for land use,
Right.
and give us a predictable time to execute it, then you will get investment very quickly.
Amanda, along the same lines, how would you say a city can enhance the value of sites around transit stations or BRT stops, and what are some of the economic tools some tools for economic development when it comes to TODs?
And when I was talking about our Avondale station, that we had to replace parking, we had to replace about 220 spaces, and then we had to replace bus bays as well. So there's an expense associated with that, and that's not an expense that most transit agencies are willing to incur, because the whole point of the TOD program is to make money. And secondly, it's not an expense that you can really pass on to a developer, because they can go to another site that doesn't have that cost burden. So you need to find a funding source for that. And that was a responsibility that I largely took on myself when I was at MARTA, and I think it's an appropriate thing for JTA to identify partners to support, because it's going to be very difficult to market sites if you don't have a solution to fund the infrastructure costs that are going to be incurred.
One of the main attractions for development in and near downtown is access to the St. Johns River and the Riverwalk.
Because I got up at 5:30 and I walked the riverfront and all the way to Brooklyn, across the ridge. And there are a lot of people out there exercising, working out at the YMCA. So we have the Beltline in Atlanta, but you guys have the Riverwalk. And the Riverwalk beats the Beltline any day of the week, okay?
It's beautiful. Right.
According to Blackson, Jacksonville has plenty to offer and has a transit system that is ready for TOD.
But you have the bones for that great transit system that will lend to the walking culture and the biking culture.
After that scintillating panel discussion about the merits of transit-oriented development by experts from Atlanta, San Diego, and Jacksonville, the more than 100 attendees then gathered in breakout sessions to discuss the best possible uses for the several JTA properties currently being offered for development. Take a listen.
The decisions that we make related to these downtown parcels in particular, those decisions will have multi-generational impacts, and we have to get it right. And so I'd rather take a little bit more time to get it right, because our children's children will live with these decisions.
Well, I mean, and even the visibility, I mean, if you're up there, you come down, it's you know exactly where you're going.
But this building actually recast the vision for that entrance, but I'm gonna be critical. I wish the glass was on the backside that faced the interstate. We turned our back to the interstate, and I think the interstate should be embraced from a visibility perspective. It's an asset, it's oceanfront property.
From an FDOT perspective, they want that traffic to flow.
They do, not me necessarily.
So, I mean, those are the challenges, trying to make sure we do it correctly.
So the strategy was to make it much more compact and make it more truly a hub of regional transportation.
As a developer and an investor and someone who has money that's willing to come in, you've got so many different things going on right now, right? You've got this, you've got that, you've got this. What makes you make a decision to invest in these areas.
With an autonomous vehicle dedicated for that building to bring them to the park and ride, or they put in certain mobility options, whether it is their own scooters and their own whatever. So essentially, they look at the number of units and they say, based on the use, they're going to need this amount, and literally force the elimination of you having your car and put in the mobility solution as part of the development.
You may be able to get the zoning change to allow an unlimited height or to allow mixed use. That I don't think is going to be hard in that location. I do think that what is available to you from a financing structure is going to be very different, and it's really odd that you've got half of it that'll have one thing and half that won't.
The JRTC is built for handling 42,000 people a day. Right now, Rosa Parks handles 10, so it's built for a significant incremental increase in utilization in the future.
In New York, their train stations are in the buildings, and you have offices and housing and stuff. That's what this site can do. It doesn't have to be site and building. You can integrate this because this is your most urban train station. Well, that became Housing Commission's offices are here, and then a mixed use, but mostly a housing development came here. And the train just goes right through it, like an open air space. So it could be the same idea here.
And the challenge of this station, as you look at it, is so we have the big employment cluster in Brooklyn. Are people going to take a bus from where they live on Bay Meadows downtown to here?
From a developer's perspective, it's salivating to see finally raw land is coming available, right? But the things we heard that I think are very important, you heard quality.
What we want to do is get on the board all of the different issues and the different challenges, and as we resolve those challenges, we guarantee our future residents of Jacksonville world-class transportation, world-class development, a world-class lifestyle.
The nation's oldest city is looking for the most modern of technology to help move people around its downtown. After seeing the progress JTA is making with autonomous vehicles, St. Augustine leaders are planning a future that has AVs as a new transit option in its busy, crowded, and tourist-heavy downtown. Making Moves correspondent Karen Adams has more from St. George Street.
St. Augustine, the nation's oldest city and known for its historic architecture and tourism, is now looking at bringing technology to the forefront in an effort to ease downtown traffic congestion and better move tourists throughout the historic district. City leaders in St. Augustine are now working on a plan to put autonomous shuttles on downtown streets. Reuben Franklin is the city's mobility project manager, and he's one of the key people in charge of planning for the future. Franklin says he's been closely following the progress the Jacksonville Transportation Authority has been making with AVs. He says that JTA's plans to transport people using autonomous vehicles on downtown Jacksonville streets and elsewhere is a model St. Augustine will likely emulate.
It's a tremendous resource for us. As a city, we're relatively small, so my resources as a program manager, I don't have the resources to set up my own test track and vet different vendors that come in. So having a partner with JTA through our North Florida Transportation Planning Organization is tremendous. And I stay in touch and follow what JTA is doing pretty closely.
The long-term plan is for 3 huge parking garages to be built in a triangle area, the periphery of downtown St. Augustine, 1 each in the north, east, and west, as seen here as red circles. In the middle, in yellow, is the current parking garage, now located just north of the downtown core. It's that current garage that will soon be getting a connector to help shuttle residents and tourists.
So that would be building these parking structures on the periphery, our 3 entry points into the city, and then having circulators or shuttles to move people from those facilities into our downtown area.
So right now, all you have is this?
So the yellow one here is our existing downtown parking garage. If anybody's visited the city, they've most likely parked there. Upcoming, we'll get a circulator up and running out of this garage from our existing clock tower, and then we'll be working on future plans to develop these periphery facilities.
Okay, when will this be done, and when is the estimated date on those?
Right now, the circulator is planned. This year, we're going to be looking at cost and funding sources, followed by the next fiscal year. So 2021, we hope to have this one up and running. not as an autonomous, but we hopefully will transition into an AV vehicle.
St. Augustine attracts 6 million tourists a year. With numbers like that, city leaders knew that they had to make plans to accommodate the influx. And business owners say the new technology can't come soon enough. John Powers is one of those business owners. He owns 3 separate businesses on St. George Street, including Dragonflies Jewelry. He realizes a good plan for the future means more success for local businesses.
I've noticed there's been some issues with traffic throughout the city, and I think any plan to facilitate traffic in and out of the city, anything that could potentially help to move people and stop the congestion on some of these smaller streets would be a huge aid to us down here. I mean, we see traffic coming up and down Treasury especially can be dangerous. People trying to navigate their way through the city, especially if they haven't been here before. And I think it's be a huge help.
I'm happy to hear that. It's definitely leading in the right direction. If you drive through downtown St. Augustine, you can't be in a hurry. It's just the way it is. But the congestion can only go so far. St. Augustine was built for horse and buggies years and years ago. So now with all this traffic, we like to keep the people here, but if they fix something with the transportation, the cars to make it more efficient, I'm all for that.
Residents will start to see the new changes gradually, some starting as soon as next year, with the final phase extending out to 2040. But Franklin is quick to point out that changes could be seen much sooner based on how quickly the technology advances. In St. Augustine, Karen Adams, JTA Making Moves.
I'm David Cotton in Neptune Beach. Coming up on Making Moves, we've got all the details on the new paid parking strategy here at the Beaches Town Center.
JTA has been providing transit services in Clay County since January, but what happens next year? And some local vets get a job makeover courtesy of the JTA Cares program. We'll show you the results. Then later, more awards for JTA's communications team. All that and more right after the break.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Making Moves, the most honored public transportation news and information program in the country. Welcome back. If you're heading to Neptune or Atlantic Beach, then be prepared to pay to park. The two communities have both adopted a pay-to-park option in the business district. Making Moves correspondent David Cotton reports on what local residents and businesses think about the plan and how JTA can help you hold on to some of that parking money.
A new paid parking pilot program is now live in Atlantic and Neptune beaches. The new system is an attempt to manage traffic and parking in the busy Beaches Town Center area where Atlantic Boulevard meets the Atlantic Ocean.
The two cities got together on how this could help the merchants in all of the downtown area.
Neptune Beach Mayor Elaine Brown says parking has become an issue in recent years as more restaurants and retail spaces fill up the popular beachside destination. Customers can either download the free Flowbird app or use one of 9 parking kiosks stationed throughout the area. Paid parking is enforced from 11 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. It will cost you $1 for every half hour you park, capped at $12 each day. But there is some relief. Brown said the first half hour is on the house.
So if you were picking up something to go, or if you're running in to buy something, a cup of coffee or whatever, that half hour is free for everybody.
Neptune Beach residents who register with the city can park for free in dedicated spaces on Cherry, Walnut, and 2nd Streets. Atlantic Beach residents receive 50% off their paid parking when they register their cars. The program also includes dedicated parking for employees who work at Beach's town center businesses.
Most of our customers are in and out within 30 minutes. So the goal of the paid parking would be to turn those spots up over quicker. And so we think it's going to be a good thing for us.
Jessica Podludsky is the general manager of T-Dubs Mercantile, one of the many new retail spaces in the area. Her customers are typically in and out in under a half hour, meaning they may not have to pay at all. She hopes the program will discourage people who abuse the store's limited number of free parking spaces.
What happens is you get a lot of beachgoers that park out in the free spots for the whole day.
Of course, there are other options available for visitors and residents.
If you don't want to deal with the hassle of parking at all, you can always just order a beach buggy.
Beach Buggy is a free, on-demand service sponsored by the JTA. With just a few taps of your smartphone, you can hail a ride to anywhere in the 3 Beaches cities. Service runs 7 days a week, starting at either 3 p.m. or 11 a.m., with service running through midnight or 2 a.m., depending on the day. For more information, download the Beach Buggy app. In Neptune Beach, David Cotton, JTA, Making Moves.
If you live or work in Clay County, we have good news for you. JTA and Clay County have agreed to a new deal where the authority will continue providing transit services to county residents in 2020. You may recall that in January of this year, JTA began running shuttles for Clay County's disabled community after all public transportation services operated by the county were stopped. Then in March, under the banner Clay Community Transportation, JTA restored the county's red and blue lines with reconfigured routes. Just recently, JTA added a third route, the Magenta Line, which runs between Keystone Heights and Gainesville. If you're a local veteran, maybe looking for a new job but don't necessarily have the wardrobe you need, the JTA Cares program can help. The JTA Cares team recently participated in the city of Jacksonville's Veterans Stand Down event at the fairgrounds. The 3-day event featured sessions on resume and interview preparation, along with a job fair and medical, dental, and housing assistance for homeless vets. The veterans were encouraged to stop by the JTA Cares Career Pop-Up Closet and shop for some new clothes for their job or job interview.
These ladies have been wonderful. They've been a blessing. You know, the outfit that they put together for me, you know, has me looking very, you know, swag and debonair. You know, and I like it. And so it should really help me out with getting a job tomorrow.
But JTA provided the professional clothing that some of them needed for males and females. Then we had haircuts and resume assistance in hopes that they would come today to the job fair and participate and look professional and find employment.
So today we were here to give them clothing for job interviews, whether they were going into an office, whether they was going to do labor work. We were here offering suits, ties, khakis, polo shirts. We had some tennis shoes and also some work shoes as well. We were able to clothe about 10 to 15 people that come through us to get clothing for the career source today.
JTA Cares is a comprehensive community outreach program run by JTA employees. The program has provided Thanksgiving meals, sent care packages to military families overseas, disaster relief, and the JTA Career Closet has provided outfits for dozens of men and women in the Jacksonville area so far. Well, some high schoolers from Andrew Jackson's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics program, or STEM, recently had their minds blown by one of the latest technological advancements in transportation, autonomous vehicles. A dozen students from the school's game design program got a first-hand look at JTA's latest autonomous vehicle at the authority's test track near the sports complex downtown. The group was able to take test rides on the Navia vehicle and learn about how the AV's computers and sensors guide it to where it needs to go.
It's crazy finding out that there's going to be automated vehicles pretty soon driving around on the street, and knowing that they work is really weird.
It feels like everybody here is going to have the honor of riding it first, essentially. And then everybody's going to come to this place as a tour city, essentially. Maybe as a historic monument to some kind of futuristic items.
Actually, maybe something like Uber, like you have the app on your phone, you say, oh, I need this bus to come here and drive me here, and it comes and picks you up and takes you where you need to go.
Maybe 99.9% of them knew that there's such thing as an AV vehicle in the world, but I'd say in Jacksonville,
I don't think they knew that UTC or JTA had one going on.
Meanwhile, employees from the Bank of America building in downtown Jacksonville also got to check out the vehicle. Employees in Jacksonville's tallest high-rise, as well as several passersby, checked out the AV inside and asked questions of the staff. In other autonomous vehicle news, Florida Polytechnic University in Lakeland won a $350,000 grant from the National Science Foundation to develop a simulation facility for autonomous vehicle technology. The grant will help fund the development of a large-scale hardware-in-the-loop, or HIL, simulation facility to serve as a real-time simulation to help develop and test systems for autonomous and connected vehicle technology. The school expects to have the new lab operating by the spring semester. As you may recall, Florida Poly and JTA began a partnership in 2018 to further advance the authority's autonomous vehicle program. More statewide recognition for JTA's marketing and communications group, and JTA CEO raises thousands for a local charity. Those stories when we return. Welcome back to Making Moves. JTA's marketing and communications team was recently honored with 2 awards from the Florida Public Transportation Association at its annual conference held this year in Orlando. JTA picked up an award for a special edition of its Momentum magazine, published for the Transit-Oriented Development Symposium at this year's State of the Authority. The award-winning issue was written by Cleveland Ferguson, JTA's Senior Vice President of Administration, and designed by Ferguson and Jen Mackey. And JTA's multimedia group was honored for writing, producing, and editing commercials promoting the First Coast Flyer Red Line launch and the opening week of free rides. JTA CEO Nat Ford raised more than $8,000 to help in the fight against breast cancer as part of the American Cancer Society's Real Men Wear Pink campaign. Ford partnered with Bistro X in San Marco to support its special pink menu last month and hosted a pink fundraiser at the restaurant.
Nathaniel Ford is part of our Real Men Wear Pink campaign. This is our 4th year, and he is supporting breast cancer awareness. So Real Men Wear Pink is a campaign that allows local male leaders in our community to raise funds and awareness for the fight against breast cancer.
Breast cancer is not just a disease that affects women, it affects men as well. And also, I don't think there's anyone who has not been affected by breast cancer in their family. So it's important that we take the opportunity to educate the community, and many times community leaders are able to get that message to our community and support.
I'm honored this year that they've asked me to help lead their campaign, and it's just a great night and a great group of people, and we're just celebrating and raising funds for to help with this disease.
In his nearly 7 years at JTA, Ford has supported many local charities in addition to the American Cancer Society, including Diabetes, United Way of Northeast Florida, and Daniel's Kids. And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. We hope to see you again soon. Until we do, you can get your Making Moves fix anytime on jtafla.com. Just click on the media section. You can also find stories and other exclusive content when you like our Facebook page at facebook.com/JTA Making Moves. I'm Bill Milnes for the entire Making Moves team. Thanks for watching, and take care, everybody.